We are back with the trial of Oscar Pistorius and his murder charge against his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. With more facts on the case, we go to Nick.
This is an interesting case because you don't often see a Paralympian being charged with murder. Oscar Pistorius shot his girlfriend 4 times while she was in the bathroom at night thinking she was an intruder.
You mentioned murder. Were there any other charges brought to Pistorius?
Pistorius was charged with culpable homicide and premeditated murder against Reva Steenkamp, not to mention several firearm-related charges.
Can you give us a little bit of a background behind Reva Steenkamp?
Reva Steenkamp began modeling in her early teens and eventually became one of the top models in South Africa. She's a noted celebrity, an A-list guest in red carpet events, and started dating Oscar Pistorius in 2012.
Can you give a little bit of a background information behind Pistorius?
Oscar is the first double amputee to compete in the Olympics. After his performance, he quickly rose to fame. He has no criminal record, but he was possibly diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder.
What evidence did the prosecution use against Pistorius? We go to Madison.
The prosecution also had hardcore evidence to prove Oscar was guilty. First, they showed the court pictures of the blood splatter from the scene. The blood was on the toilet, which shows that Reva was near the toilet or on the toilet while she was shot. Next, there were texts shown from Reva to Oscar saying, "I'm scared of you sometimes and how you will react to me." This shows that Reva feared Oscar. Lastly, they showed the cricket bat that Oscar claimed he used to tear down the door once he realized his girlfriend was in the bathroom. But the prosecution is saying that Oscar killed Reva with this cricket bat and then staged the murder by putting her in the bathroom and shooting the door 4 times.
Under no circumstances can it ever be argued that there wasn't deliberate intent. With that weapon, you've got to pull the trigger 4 separate times to fire those shots. It doesn't just go off.
Does the fact that there were 4 shots as opposed to, say, 1 or 2 indicate anything to you?
Yes, it does. It's important because when you fire shots of that nature with that weapon, 1 shot is likely to produce a fatal outcome unless the recipient of the shot is very, very lucky.
Can you describe the sequence of bullets for us that led to Reva's death?
The first shot, which struck Reva, hit her in the thigh. The second shot hit her in the upper arm, just above the elbow, and blasted the big bone. The third shot, or fourth shot, hit her in the right temple. Now, it's absolutely crucial that the state can show not only that that was the sequence, but that there was a delay in the shooting.
Why is that delay important?
Because it then can be argued that Reva, after the first shot in the hip, would have cried out, thus dispelling any notion that Oscar would have had of it being an intruder.
Who did the prosecution bring to the stand to testify against Pistorius? We go to Autumn.
The prosecution called 2 witnesses to the stand. The first was Michelle Berger, who at the time of the crime was Oscar Pistorius' neighbor. In her testimony, Michelle Berger claimed that her and her husband were asleep when at about 3 a.m. they were awoken by the yelling and screaming of a man, shortly followed by 4 consecutive gunshots. Michelle Berger then said that her and her husband went back to sleep. The next witness that the prosecution called was Samantha Taylor, Oscar Pistorius' ex-girlfriend. Samantha Taylor claimed that Oscar Pistorius wasn't only mentally but was also verbally and physically abusive to her. She says that she has scars from him biting and pinching her, and that he always slept with a gun by him, he always carried a gun on him, and that he had incidents with guns in the past. She said that she was very terrified of him, and that what happened to Reva could have happened to her, that she doesn't doubt it. She also said that the reason her and Oscar broke up was because he cheated on her with Reva Steenkamp, the victim.
What evidence did the defense use to counter the prosecution? We go back to Madison.
In this case, the defense had plenty of evidence to prove that Oscar's not guilty. They showed a video of Oscar and Reva kissing in a store only 10 days before the murder took place. This shows the couple was happy with no signs of tension. Also, they showed love texts between the two. In these texts, Reva is telling Oscar how she would like to cook for him on Valentine's Day, once again showing that the couple is happy. Finally, they showed the autopsy report. In this report, Riva's bladder is empty, which shows that when she heard Oscar yelling at the intruder, she had locked herself in the bathroom because she was scared.
You can maybe just stand on my side where I can see him and talk to him. Respect for the appeal court of appeals finding. I absolutely respect it. But we're dealing with sentence. We have to see rationality now in the context of sentence. And what we have, and these facts can be tested.
Who did the defense call to the stand to testify on behalf of Pistorius? We go to Jaya.
There are two key defense witnesses in this trial. First, we have Yvonne Lin. Yvonne Lin is an acoustic engineer who testified that sound tests suggested that if Steenkamp was screaming in Pistorius' toilet, it was very unlikely that the screams could be audible from 581 feet away. He also said that although we can typically distinguish male and female screams, you cannot do so reliably, without exceptions. Lin's testimony discredited the prosecution's witnesses, who claimed they heard a woman screaming for help in Pistorius' house the night of the murder. Our second witness is Yvonne Van Skolkwek, who is a social worker and probation officer assigned to Pistorius. She testified that Oscar was distraught about his girlfriend's death and was not acting how a murderer would act. She said that in February 2013, she sat with him in his cell during his bail appearance, where he vomited twice, cried 80% of the time, and was in mourning and suffering emotionally, and that he told her that he missed Steenkamp a great deal. Back to you, Ben.
What was the final verdict of this case? We go to Ben.
The final verdict of the Oscar Pistorius case is that Oscar has been sentenced to 6 years of prison for the murder of his girlfriend Riva. He's already spent 1 year in prison for manslaughter, but he's been sentenced to another 5 for murder. Back to you.
Mr. Pistorius, please stand up. Having regard to the totality of this evidence, in this matter, the unanimous decision of this court is the following. 1. On count 1, murder read with section 51(1) of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 105 of 1997, the accused is found not guilty and is discharged. Instead, he is found guilty of culpable homicide. On count 2, contravention of section 127 of the Firearms Control Act number 60 of 2000, and the alternative count that is contravention of section 123(b) of the same act. The accused is found not guilty and discharged. On count 3, contravention of section 120, subsection 7, alternatively count 120, subsection 3A, and further alternatively section 120, subsection 3B of the Firearms Control Act number 60 of 2000. The accused is found guilty.